ignore the giant notepad document. That was just me prepping notes of what to talk about and search while we do our live stream today. I have not been live in several months. Uh, I was basically semi-retiring from my lack of live stream career until people started talking about things that interest me again, as is the case with these types of things. So, to get into Sweet Baby Incorporated, as well as what they and the media are doing wrong and what they've omitted and lied about. And this is a discussion. This is not a like full-on proof post. Other people have already done that part. This is just discussing the issue. It's not a full-on like, here's the evidence kind of thing. That would take more time than I'm willing to put on one video for this. So, back in 2014, we have the start of Gamergate, where Zoe Quinn cheats on her boyfriend, Aaron Gioni. So he, of course, goes public with the evidence on a loosely social justice website, Something Awful, aka SA. And he posts the evidence on Something Awful where a bunch of liberals and social justice types gather and post. So before he could take his post down, the post was added to 4chan, where people investigating it found ties to Kotaku specifically, and Kotaku had ties to a gaming journalist organization where they talked about what stories to catch and kill, aka what stories in gaming they wanted to cover. So rather than just reporting on everything as they should have, this was a creator group where people were blacklisted and so on and so forth and denied media access for their games. It's a terrible thing, all in all. Now, we'll get to the latter half of this sentence in a minute. Zoe Quinn was the developer of Depression Quest, a text-based JRPG that was supposed... Well, not JRPG, but a text-based educational game, for lack of a better words, that was about the side effects of depression. The short version of it is that is not at all what it was. It was a game that basically glorified and encouraged suicide. It was a terrible game. Basically, the only option, any option you picked, they all led to your eventual unaliving. There was no way to get around it. There was no living with the depression. There was no nothing. So, as I said, before you could delete the post, it got added to 4chan. Now, 4chan generally is a misogynistic place. You don't want to be on 4chan if you can avoid it. They're mildly racist. They're very generally misogynistic. They don't like minorities or women. It's a bad place. Now, I am a bit of a leftist myself, but I'm reasonable. At least I like to think I am. So, I wouldn't be on 4chan in the first place. That's not where I learned about Gamergate back when it happened. I learned about it through YouTube, because that's where I tended to get most of my media at the time. I have since broadened my media diet considerably, but we'll go into that later. So during the whole part of this, there was a group called the Fine Young Capitalists. They put together an all-female game jam That was actually very inclusive. It even allowed trans women in there, as in they were male who went female, provided they were trans before the contest was announced. So, like, let's say you were Brianna Wu, who is transgender. Well, Brianna Wu would be allowed because she was transgender before the contest went live. But that didn't stop the big A, Anita Sarkeesian, among others, from calling the Fine Young Capitalists transphobic, which was a lie. And in response to Anita Sarkeesian and Feminist Frequency and all those people getting involved, Gamergaters collectively raised $20,000 for the game jam for the Fine Young Capitalists. And you're about to get banned, infected lobbyist. I do not allow promos of that nature and things like that. I do not encourage buying of chatbots and so on and so forth. It is a shame that that is your first time comment, but it's going to have to result in a ban. There we go. Banned. Okay. Okay, as I was saying. So, Anita Sarkeesian, who runs Feminist Frequency, and there's a lot more to go into there, but this is a very general thing, accused the Fine Young Capitalists of being transphobic, and her friend Zoe Quinn in her group that was trying to figure out the way to word this here. Her group, which I can't even remember what it's called now, was supposed to be like an anti-bullying group. Well, they doxed and then DDoSed, in that order, the Fine Young Capitalists. So they doxed them first, and then they DDoSed them. So Gamergate, in addition to the whole ethics and game journalism, I can't talk right now. Give me a second. Brain's going faster than my mouth allows. Okay, so Gamergaters, in addition to raising $20,000 for the Fine Young Capitalists, created a character named Vivian James for the Game Jam. There you go, that's the one I was looking for. Alright. So, Vivian James is this person right here. Vivian James was derided, again, by Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian et al. As being horribly sexist and being supposedly the incel's ideal gamer girl. Despite the fact that there's nothing sexual about this. Like, she's not smiling, she's got a grumpy face, she's in a frumpy sweater, she's wearing not even like form-fitting blue jeans, and she's wearing Keds. I mean, come on now. There's nothing sexist about this. Excuse me. So, that was the first part there. And the second part is overall gender issues in gaming. People didn't care if there was a well-written female character, but they cared about the horribly written, forced perspective of, like, you know, oh, you have to play as this South Florida 3, for lack of a better word, and that you had to be like emotionally manipulated in your game, and the story had to be told with no actual like story arc, no building, no nothing. It just had to be feminine. People hated that. But then you get things like, and I hate that I'm quoting Shad on this one, but you get things like Alita Battle Angel, you get things like uh, Supergirl, you get things like uh, my personal favorite, Samus Aran, you get things that are actually girls written well, where they're super badass, they do what they have to do because they have to do it, and there's none of this propagandizing nonsense. And everybody loves them. Nobody cares. And so people talk about, for lack of a better word, how that's, sexist, but it's not. It's we care about the writing. We care about, is your character written well? Your character can be gay or black or female or a gay black female for all we care, as long as their arc is written well. If you make your gay black female character's arc be expressly about the fact that they're hated by society because they're black and gay and female, and the whole story is about them being gay and black and female, but there's no character arc, they're just hated by society, nobody's going to want to read that. Nobody's going to want to talk about that. Now, if you have a character arc where they're gay and black and female, and it's part of it, but they're still a normal person living their life, trying to make their way in society, overcoming their struggles, people will read the fuck out of that. So don't make your writing this terrible bullshit. Now, to go further into our actual discussion, Redditors were banned for criticizing Anita Sarkeesian on Reddit, just not even just in her own forum, but generally. You were banned for racism and misogyny and homophobia, etc., just for criticizing her take publicly on something. You were banned not just on Reddit, but also on Kotaku and Game Freak and PC Gamer and Arcade Stack and so on and so forth, just for criticizing the anti-GG narrative or the people in it for their ethical faults. About Zoe Quinn at all. You have people being banned for talking about Anita Sarkeesian and criticizing her UN speech, for example. There's more involving Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, but we'll get to that in a minute. So then we have 3 female pro Gamergate reporters here. We have Georgina White, Liz Finnegan, and Jennifer Daw, all of which who got called out by the Zoe Quinns and the Anita Sarkeesians, etc., for talking about the actual issues, like the fact that Kotaku and Jason Schreier were on a list talking about what articles, what games to promote, what games to give positive press and negative press. You have Georgina White, who, now we're going to bring Google back over. Let's take it off images, go back to all. Georgina White, who I think No, not the actress. You know what? Let's go back to that Medium article I was reading earlier. Bam. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Okay, so she was a game journalist. That was her actual title. Well, there's that Medium article again. Well, I can't find her on all this stuff. Perhaps it was she was a university journalist or something. Anyway, let's pull this back over. There we go. But Liz Finnegan also worked for Kotaku, and Jennifer Daw worked for. What did she work for? Well, currently she works for KUSA TV in Denver, Colorado. But she's also a 2D game artist. So she does things for, like, what the hell's the title of the game that she worked on? But she worked for, damn it, I should have pulled this up beforehand. I really should have done more research. Anyway. She worked for Dreamweaver. That was the studio. That's what it was. Okay. But so she worked for Dreamweaver. She did 2D art for their game sprites. Damn it, type better. But so they do primarily web marketing, but also website design and Game Boy type games. So they've since had to diversify a bit. But either way, back in the day they did 2D games. But so these particular journalists discovered, along with Ethan Klein and Brad Glasgow, Ethan Klein being part of the H3H3 podcast, as a lot of people probably know in the content creator space. But they found it was mostly politically liberal people in the Gamergate audience. Don't fall over, PC. I know I just shook the chair you're sitting on, but come on, don't fall over. People who were, pro-abortion, who voted for Barack Obama, who thought that the Supreme Court was going too conservative even in Obama's time. People who generally despise racism, etc., etc. So they found that approximately 85% of Gamergaters were people kind of like me who are socially liberal. Who are like, I'm pro women's right to choose, who are like, you know, Trump is a terrible president, etc., etc. So Ethan Klein, uh, as part of his podcast on the H3H3 podcast, discussed how it was like 80% of these people were like this, and the other 20% were part of a troll farm, which is true. And that study was then conducted and proved by Brad Glasgow on 4chan, 8chan, and Reddit, who just interviewed the people on their subs and said, hey, I'm interested in your political stances on any number of topics. And found they were very liberal and just had massive concerns about the interconnected and incestuousness of games journalism. They also found, and this was Ethan Klein specifically, found that none of the confirmed harassment was actually tied to actual Gamergaters. Brianna Wu had 2 instances of harassment, one of which was faked by Brianna Wu herself, and one of which was tied to a YouTuber by the name of Ethan Rankowski, who was a YouTube comedian who did prank videos. They also actually found that most of the harassment messages originally came from something awful, some from 8chan, but none of the senders were linked to Gamergate movements that were sending harassment to these people. However, they did find out that Zoe Quinn was doxing and harassing people, that Anita Sarkeesian was doxing and harassing people on the Gamergate side, as in they were targeting people who were pro Gamergate and doxing and harassing them. They found Brianna Wu faked her harassment. They found that there was another one involved in there somewhere, but I can't remember it. It's been a long ass time. But they found that trolls were basically going after both sides equally. They were just, agents of chaos wanting to watch the whole society burn, who were threatening both Gamergaters and people like Anita Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu, etc., who just wanted to watch the world burn. There was no actual pro-Gamergate threats tied to anybody in the actual Gamergate movement. I already talked about how Ethan Rankowski was the other person who made videos against Brianna Wu. There were tweets by Brianna Wu claiming that she had multiple of the same type of threatening videos sent to her, but they were all from the same guy. They were all from this Rankowski guy on YouTube. There were also bomb threats called in by people who were swatting GGers at offline meetups. For example, at a press conference in Miami, somebody called in a bomb threat to stop it because they were talking about the fact that the media was overlooking tons of evidence on behalf of GG. Then we get to the harassment of Total Biscuit. And that's a whole big number of things. So, Total Biscuit was a YouTuber who believed in evidence. He would talk things through from a pro-Gamergate side and from an anti-Gamergate side based on what the evidence was at the time. He also, unfortunately, suffered from colon cancer. He died, I think, in 2016. Maybe it was 2017. I'll find that out real quick. Okay, so he died in 2018. So he's from Britain, so he's, not necessarily in US politics. But when Brianna Wu posted the harassment, he saw that it was actually linked to her developer account. When Zoe Quinn was posting harassment, he saw that it was from people linked to her own website. When Anita Sarkeesian was posting harassment, he saw that it came from her own email address. And so we'll get into these types of things again in just a moment. But this is just to rehash what went on in Gamergate and how it relates to what's going on now. The press also didn't include the Gamergate effort to stop the trolls that were targeting both themselves and the Anita Sarkeesians and Zoe Quinns and the whatnots. For example, Gamergaters put an actual Gamergate patrol in 4chan, and anytime anybody started talking about these things, they mass reported them and got their accounts banned so they couldn't get any benefit from it. They did the same in 8chan, which eventually created a GG Revolution support group for those trolls, and it was a whole mess of things. But point being, Gamergaters actually were trying to stop the harassment on both sides. They didn't want this nonsense. So now we're going to get into Sweet Baby Incorporated, Kotaku, and game journalists now. So the first, almost 30 minutes of this video, we're just going over the history that led to where we are now. So there's 3 members of, well, if you want to include the employees, there's 5 or 6 members, but so there's 3 important members of Sweet Baby Incorporated to talk about right now, which is Kim Belair, Ariadne McGillivray, who is less important than the other 2, but was a founding member and worked at Ubisoft, and Lego Butts, who is also known as, I believe it was, Felix Kramer, that's the one, yes. So, I don't know if you know this, but Lego Butts is an FTM trans person. That is not for people to harass them. That is not for anything of that purpose. But it helps understand why they're of a certain mindset. So we have Lego Butts, we have Ariadne McGillivray, and Kim Belair. Also known as, what was it again? Yes, Felix Kramer, that's it. Okay. So at Kotaku, we also have Alyssa Mercante and Kiza McDonald. Those are the the two people in the press that we're going to be talking about. There's way more press getting it wrong, but that's more of a general sense, and this is not a specialist video, so we're not going that route. So Kim Belair and Ariadne McGillivray, I hate Scottish names. They're all very long. Felix, and there was two other people who were founders, but they're not important because they're not part of the nonsense going on. They haven't made any racist tweets that I could find or anything like that, so those being David Bedar, and who's the CEO, and so on and so forth. But Kim Belair is the COO, and Ariadne McGillivray was a founder. She's not part of the officers. She used to be, but she's not anymore. She works for Phoenix Developments now. But Kim Belair, as part of a 2019 Game Developers Conference, made anti-white racist comments and called gamers picky babies for not wanting to be part of their nonsense stories. We'll get into Lego Butts and Chris Kindred in a minute, who are employees, but the short version is Kim Belair made racist comments, and let's move my camera out of the way. Move that over here into the blank space. There we go. Made racist comments and is supporting her employees for making stupid Twitter posts and causing backlash and drama. As well as part of her writing company being part of several failed games. So, her Twitter, which we will now go to Twitter, which is the cesspool that if it wasn't for the fact that I'm on a content creator, I would hate to well, because I started looking into this, now I'm getting a lot more game developer news, so I suppose that's a good thing. Kim. I think this is her. Looks like her. Yep, this is her. Alright, pull this over here. So, this is new stuff, but reposts. Let's do, instead, you know what, let's do Google. Well, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. Well, apparently there's a misinformation campaign from these people. Well, that's more Lego butt stuff. I wasn't going for that. Oh, there's the Kindred stuff that I was going to go into. Okay, here we go. Because I didn't want to go all the way back through to 2019 and find this nonsense. So she talks about threatening your marketing people with cancel culture to get them to give you money to hire Sweet Baby. She talks about white male gamers being picky babies. She talks about how everyone loses if we don't force them to swallow poorly written characters, etc., etc. So that's Kim Belair right there. Notepad. Next. So next we will go into Ariadne McGillivray, who again, she's not part of the the super backlash, but she's an exemplar of the horrible writing they do, and she, again, not encouraging harassment or anything, but for example, she wrote a large part of Far Cry 4 and Far Cry Primal, which were horribly received. She wrote the story mode of For Honor, which I haven't played, so I don't know if that's any good or not. I can't speculate on that one. But the fact that she wrote missions and descriptions for Assassin's Creed Unity, which was the most widely panned Assassin's Creed game ever created, gives you an idea of the kind of horrible writing they put out. The fact that of the 4 games she's credited on, at least 3 of them were absolutely dog shit tells you everything you need to know. So, now let's get into Maya Kramer, now currently Felix Kramer, who is known as Lego Butts. So let's go back up in this article to the Lego Butts stuff. As you can see, she posted a lot. Now, that's not, you know what? Okay, that's not what I was looking for. I'm going to have to comment on it with this on my Reddit account. Okay, so Lego Butts is the one who wanted them to report and ban the Brazilian creator of the Sweet Baby Detective curator group. No, that was Chris Kramer or Chris Kindred who did that. So, okay, so here it is. This is the one. So one thing has changed. The number of people who think that spreading misinformation just lets them be racist in public with no consequence has increased dramatically. Yep. Grums. Yes, let's see what Grums said. Cancel pigs are trying to take down a Discord group that talks about Sweet Baby Incorporated. Oh, what's this then? Oh, so this person went and posted a bunch of nonsense and tried to get them banned. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, there's more Chris Kindred stuff. Ah, there's the one who slept with Zoe Quinn. I love this tweet by Grums, by the way. It says, if the journalists were not lying, it would not be an ethics problem. Everyone can see what you're doing, Paul Tassi, and the other gaming journalists are doing. This time it's obvious to everyone. You lose, Paul. But, yes. Oh, I almost forgot about this drama. So, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, died last week technically, but it was announced the other day. And these people tried to call Akira Toriyama, of all people, a racist. That was another one. Well, that's getting more into it than I want to, so we're going to stop that for now. But we are going to get into Alyssa Mercante here. And we're just going to get into the news on it. And that would be, we're just going to plaster her face right here. That would be this lady that you can see all across the screen. But she's the one who said, you can't be racist against white people, which is factually untrue. She also locked her Twitter account afterward. As you can see, all of the ones with her in it are locked, but all the ones calling her out are not. She notes, does this article mention anything about the Sweet Baby Incorporated CEO being a racist against Brazilian people? Because I have a feeling the article doesn't mention it. Next person questioning her, please explain why you can't be racist against white people, as Caucasians are a minority worldwide. This tells you everything you need to know about these race-baiting grifters. Tolkien summarizes these losers best. Evil cannot create anything new. It can only corrupt and ruin what good forces have invented or made. Another self-hating white lefty journalist. This is a prime example of why trust in the media is so low. Etc., etc. Continuing on. Let's just go to... Now, I'm not a big fan of Kotaku in action because it's hit or miss. I like to be all hits all the time. But the whole you can't be racist against white people and the definition, etc. drama nonsense. But more importantly, as you can see, people are saying racists be racist. The far left push people to the extreme right and vice versa. All of these news sites need to be shut down. Alyssa Mercante just confirmed she's a full-blown racist. Noted. Well, that's a conspiracy theory I didn't think I'd be reading today. Saying that SBI is the deliberate fall guy. Which, I mean, kind of, yeah, but they're the deliberate fall guy for a reason. Again, blocking their post. Probably blocked on this one. Yep. Let's see if it'll... Okay, here we go. This is more what I was looking for. I spoke to the team at Sweet Baby and infiltrated the Discord group rallying against them. She tried to get them to dox themselves. That's what it amounted to. She wanted to ask people to post their names and faces and so on and so forth. Hi, you can't be racist against white people. Thanks for tuning in. Deleting Twitter for the weekend, etc., which we see here. So we're going to get into Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian again real quick. So, Anita Sarkeesian is just more of a funny lolcow moment. She had a birthday party recently where she dressed up as a bride and married herself because nobody else would do it. So, you know, that's just kind of funny lolcow stuff. But, let's see. Oh, I didn't put it in my notes, but I'm going to go over it anyway. So, the thing with Zoe Quinn is, in addition to Gamergate itself, her being the absolute magnet for controversy that she is, also was involved in something in 2018 where she had a boyfriend named Alec Holowka. Holowca. After a week-long getaway where they spent basically the whole week in the apartment doing naughty things, she tried to Me Too him, which led to his suicide. Because not only did she Me Too him, she got to his business partners first and had them cut him out of the business, then Me Too'd him, then convinced his sister to turn against him. And because he already had existing mental problems, they were all too happy to do it. And that led to his unaliving. Now, currently, his sister, Eileen Holowka, works on a project with, you guessed it, Kim Belair. She works on that project with Kim Belair because she funds it because she got a lot of money from her brother's company that she took over when he unalived himself. So they now operate several other companies that are similar to Sweet Baby Incorporated, where they are hired as consultants by threatening game developers with cancel culture for not including woke stuff, which is, again, I have no problem with woke stuff if it's done right, but they're not doing it right. They're letting their racism show through, and it's not good. Now, click. Let's get into Kiza McDonald. Who is another journalist at Kotaku. She's been doing a lot. Oh, she's at The Guardian now. Sorry, I was wrong. She's at The Guardian now. She is now trying to flame up the war, making it a Gamergate 2.0. I forgot. She used to be at Kotaku, but now she's at The Guardian, which is a left-leaning newspaper. They tend to have some good stuff, but generally speaking, let's just go ahead and click on this one. If we learned one thing from Gamergate, it's that putting your fingers in your ears and hoping abuse will go away does not change anything. Yeah, you're horribly incorrect. Of course, you're a games editor who knows nothing about games because all you play is Nintendo. Okay, well, at least you're excited about Dragon's Dogma 2, so you're not completely terrible. Well, you're also not a complete idiot in the criticism of your own press. So I'll give you benefit of the doubt. I think you're just an idiot about Gamergate, not an idiot in general. So, let's see. Show me the replies. Why'd you hide the replies? Why are you hiding the replies? I don't have the extension. I can't see your hidden replies. Well, you blocked the replies because you knew it was a piss poor take. So that's what we're going to go with on that. All right. So that about covers the short-term summary of all the drama that this has gone on through. So the short thread that ties this to Gamergate is Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn, who are involved in this drama as well. But by proxy, especially, it's Eileen Haloka, Kim Belair, and Zoe Quinn. Zoe Quinn, especially because she's tied to Eileen Haloka, who is now tied to Kim Belair. But let's go ahead and get into... let's see what the... I don't think Sweet Baby Inc. is on Meltdown, so I think you're full of shit. Well, either way, it's Lego Butts and Chris Kindred that are the big ones. Well, that's interesting tweets. That's not what I was looking for, though. Let's refine the Google search. There we go. Let's go back to that Park Place. It's a semi-neutral one. Alright, so he's the one who started the initial... Chris Kindred is the one who started the initial harassment on the curator group for Sweet Baby Incorporated. So Sweet Baby Detected is run by Cabrutus Rambo, who's a Brazilian man. He claims that they filed off discriminatory language when, from the very start of the group, he's been very actively opposed to it and removing it whenever he sees it. Further, he's also not been supporting conspiracy theories about Sweet Baby. He's just been like, that's not what this group is about. I just don't like the company, and I'm curating a list of games that they worked on so that those who want to know can avoid them. He's not doing anything racist. He's not, doing any nonsense. He's not like these people are evil. He's just like, I don't like the company, so I'm making a list so that people who also don't like the company don't buy their games. So he then said, report the fuck out of this group. And then he also said, and target the creator as well, since he loves his account so much. Which is actively against Steam's policies, by the way. He's since privated his account because, when you cause drama, you tend to do that. And then there's the Maya Kramer / Felix Kramer / Lego Butts drama. And we already went over her, so we're not going to go in there. Here's the let's play the clip.
And I once worked on a project where they had an all-white cast, and they expressed their desire, like, okay, we need to mix it up a bit. How about this character's kind of like stereotypically French? So they have a beret and they have like a striped shirt. And I was like, okay, if you need to do that, can we at least make them a person of color? And they said, oh no, that would be weird. They're already French. So I want to do better than this, because, and I I don't
We're going.
say that to be like, oh,
We're gonna let the whole thing play because I believe in context, but this is not expressly related to the part that's bad.
you know what, I'm going to dismiss all the hate and the abuse in our communities. But I do like to imagine that when we look at white guys, and there's several of you here, I think that when we look at you, we say, okay, you can't possibly enjoy this. But I think they want
This is the part that's bad, which is this, hey, when we look specifically at white guys.
also, and maybe you want also, to experience new and different stories. I think we need to step out of this rule that like white men can enjoy fantasy worlds, aliens, sci-fi, monsters, anything, so long as it's through a lens that looks exactly like them. Because if that's the kind of person that we're always going to cater to, you're never going to innovate. You're never going to change things. You're just going to keep feeding the picky baby. And we can't.
There's the picky baby part. That's where it starts. So, in the broad spectrum of writing through a different lens, yes, I tend to agree. But this is the part that she gets horribly wrong.
Cannot continue to try to create art under a system that is going to bar innovation for fear of a picky baby throwing a tantrum.
There's the picky baby part. So, next up, there's examples of them forcibly diversifying characters. And her partner, Chris Bedard, lied to Kotaku and said, people can't imagine that we might do anything else but DEI. They can't imagine that we're just talented writers, that we're talented narrative designers, and that people are telling us because we tell good stories. Well, your list of games you're involved in disputes that claim. Let's go ahead and pull up that list real quick. So currently they're on Sable. So Alan Wake 2, the story was lampooned for them forcibly diversifying a character, lampooned for them adding a black person in a Nordic area. I don't know anything about Battle Shapers. Goodbye Volcano High was lampooned for basically being furry porn. Spider-Man 2 was lampooned for horrible story. Suicide Squad was absolutely lampooned for horrible story. Insofar as I know, this isn't a story game, so I can't say if it's horrible for dialogue or anything like that. Lost Your Marbles is lampooned for horrible story and forced black people perspective. Or I should say forced person of color perspective, even though from what I can tell only one of them is actually black. But South of Midnight was lampooned for horrible story. And if you look here at their clients, Xbox Game Studios, EA, Valve, True Love, Santa Monica Studio does GTA. So when the next GTA studio is terrible, you'll know why. 2K, which does Borderlands and other type games. Ubisoft, which has been lampooned for horrible story and horrible office behavior. Square Enix, the couple of titles they worked on for Square have been lampooned for horrible story. Warner Brothers was with Suicide Squad, lampooned for horrible story. I don't know Polytron. Rocksteady, all their games have been lampooned for horrible story. Now, Brass Lion Entertainment is one that is the exception here. Brass Lion is run by black people. Brass Lion tells stories from an actual black perspective. Brass Lion has only done one project, and it's been pretty well received. So Brass Lion is the exception, not the rule. And the reason it proves the rule is because it's black people telling a black person story from a black person perspective. And it's an actual story, which means it has a character arc. Now, the problem with Brass Lion is one Osama Dorius, which is this guy. So Osama Dorius is a Middle Eastern gentleman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% surprised, but he's one of the two, in addition to what's her name? I forgot her name already, and I closed my Notepad document, but that's fine. Did I close it? I did. Huh. All right. Well, either way. He's the one. No, not that. There you go. Thank you. He's the one who said racism is systemic oppression by definition, and then linked to a definition that did not include systemic oppression. It specifically, and as you see, it's been community noted. But just in his replies to all these tweets who are calling him out, he apparently doesn't get it because, maybe not all there mentally. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. I can't speculate. But so we have this guy. For the record, I was on board when we were all working towards equality for everyone, but y'all have crossed into some weird territory where it's okay to discriminate and denigrate certain groups of people. Swap out the race or gender in a comment, and if it feels wrong, then it is wrong. And then he says, it's not okay to discriminate and denigrate any racial group of people. I don't know why people are assuming this about me. It's not possible to be racist to white people. Gee, I wonder why you'd think that. Next person. Remind me how saying it's impossible to be racist to an entire racial group of people and thus inciting and abetting racism against them isn't discrimination or denigration. Cool, call it what you want. I acknowledge punch-up-down dynamics, but making negative blanket statements on any kind of people is not making for a better world or bringing people together. He says agreed. And the next person, yet you keep making them. I get a feeling you're just here to rage bait for attention. You say one thing and gaslight people by saying you didn't say that. As a person of color, I am embarrassed by you. You can be a racist bigot by yourself. Don't need to wash it down to make it more palatable. His response, what are you even talking about? Either way, don't do it. Well, yeah. I wouldn't be proud of it either, to be honest. Nor should you be. Yet you seem to be. Talking out of both sides of your mouth while there is a trail of written messages you've typed isn't a good look. And then he didn't bother replying to the rest. I think he fled after that point. But, yeah, just not a good look. Close. So, in God of War Ragnarok, and this is the part here where God of War gets lampooned for a large portion of their story, is they turned what's normally a white character into a black character. So the original Angerboda in historical arts and so on and so forth. See if I can. Is, as you can tell, a white person. Because the Norse are white. So you turned a white person black and people are calling you out for it. She is the mother of monsters. She's also the wife of Loki. So yeah. Turning this or this or this into this. That's a problem. Now there's also, we're just going to read this article a little bit here. Sweet Baby Incorporated misinformation campaign about how much influence they have quickly gets exposed. Kim Belair would go on to tell Kotaku, "We are a narrative company. That primarily is our work. We're not censors. We have no interest in false diversity or in tokenization." Yet they tokenized the character. "We have an interest in making stories better and making characters more interesting, yet all their characters are terribly written. And in developing a stronger language around narrative design." Then she says, "If you're going to come for my work, you can do that. If I wrote a story and you say it's not good, that's totally fine. But if you're going to come for me, at least come correct. Don't be loud and wrong. It's unclear how replacing a Frenchman with a black man makes the game better. But as noted above, that's what Belair believes, and that is the definition of false diversity and tokenization. Hence the video we watched earlier in the article. She also admitted at the Game Developer Conference in 2019 that her entire company is about false diversity and tokenization, when she demonized straight white male gamers and even claimed they were standing in the way of progress and innovation. So I think we're going to go ahead and conclude this and post this video to YouTube. It's a bit stilted, it's a bit weird, but it's a full history, and I think we can get behind that. So, in the meantime, peace.